I'm not the best at anything. I'm not gifted. I'm just driven.
You're a retired Navy SEAL. You went through the Air Force Special Operations community. You've deployed to Iraq, broken the world record for pull-ups, run a few ultramarathons. So what do you say when you're introducing yourself to people? Like, how do you introduce yourself to people with all of that?
Well, kind of how you said it right there. I'm David Goggins.
So what got you interested in the SEAL community in the first place? Like, what caught your eye?
Well, I was spraying for cockroaches when I got out of the Air Force. I was spraying for cockroaches. I was about 297 to be exact. And I saw this Discovery Channel show on TV. And I was like, and that Discovery Channel show was just guys going through Hell Week. And I saw these guys freezing, a lot of water. And I was like, you know what? It brought back memories of me going through pararescue training. So at 297 pounds, I decided to try to be a Navy SEAL. And to make a long story short, I had to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months. And that's where it became challenging for me. So I knew to lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months, you're looking at 3,500 calories is a pound. So I was basically doing a whole bunch of math in my head. So I knew if I were to stop and be stagnant, there was no calories being burned. So I just basically trained all day long. So that's how I went. And before I knew it, I lost the weight. But when you lose 106 pounds in less than 3 months, you're not in the best shape of your life. You got a lot of cardio in, but you're just not in great shape. So my first place in the Navy was BUD/S. So, my first indoctrination to the real Navy was BUD/S.
So how did that go, like getting to BUD/S then, not being in the greatest shape and maybe not necessarily healthy?
I wasn't in bad shape, but my body was broken. Because when you go from 297 to 191, in that time period, and you're running, you're starting to break yourself. So I broke myself before I even got into Navy SEAL training. My first time going through BUD/S, I got to Hell Week, stress fractures, double pneumonia. I got rolled back day one, week one. Second time going through BUD/S, I actually fractured my patella before I got into Hell Week. Made it through Hell Week with a fractured patella, went 2 weeks after Hell Week, and then, because why? I didn't want to get rolled back to day one, week one.
Yeah.
But I couldn't keep up with the class, got rolled back to day one, week one, after Hell Week. And then I went through my third time and I graduated that class. We had a guy die in that third Hell Week, class 235. So that's kind of how it happened.
So what did that feel like to keep getting rolled back, keep going through Hell Week? Where did you go when you were doing that in your mind?
What I started figuring out going through BUD/S was that the harder something is, the more it was challenging my mind. So I had to find different ways to stay in the fight. And in staying in the fight, it got me tougher and tougher and tougher. So I'm actually happy I went through 3 Hell Weeks. I never examined myself. And as a human being, you got to examine yourself. And I guess the best place to examine yourself is Navy SEAL Hell Week.
3 times.
So I got to examine myself a few times. So it started there. It started in Hell Week. And it's still going now at 43 years old.
Once you graduated, after getting your Trident, where did you go after that?
I graduated August 2001, August 10th, 2001. And as we all know, less than a month later, September 11 happened, So once that happened, my guys were going to airborne school. We got the word about it. I went to SQT, SEAL qualification training. And after that, I went right to SEAL Team 5. And then my second platoon, we got the call. We went to Iraq. I was at SEAL Team 5, Bravo platoon again. Got the second call, went to Iraq. So that's kind of how it went down.
I understand that you lost some friends in Operation Red Wings. So what did that feel like to you?
Being that I was in 3 Hell Weeks, I knew a lot of the guys. I knew every guy that died on the operation. Mm-hmm. So the story touched me so much, I wanted to find a way to raise money for their families. So I found the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. If you're a special operator and you die, it will give 100% tuition to your son or daughter to go to college.
Okay.
Great foundation. So now I gotta find something to do to raise money for it. So I started Googling all these different races. I found the Badwater 135. So it's a 135-mile run through Death Valley in the summertime. Had no idea about ultra running. I'm 250 pounds, I'm a big meathead. So here I am, calling the guy up on Wednesday. He goes, hey, you got to qualify for this race. I go, how do you qualify? He says, you got to run 100 miles in 24 hours or less. I'm like, is that even possible? I haven't run over 20 miles the whole year.
Yeah.
Going through BUD/S, I started realizing that you have to learn to control your mind in these situations. So at mile 70, when I was in the worst shape of my entire life, I was able to draw on being calm. I was able to finish the race.
What are some of the most valuable things you learned in the Navy, be it about yourself or?
You know what? Some of the most valuable things, a lot of people say teamwork and stuff like that. Teamwork is big. But I learned that you have to be a good individual first. You have to triple down on your weaknesses, because a lot of times, like, you always count on your buddy next to you to help you out. Sometimes that buddy's not going to be there. You got to make sure that you are a jack of all trades and a master of all trades. And that's one thing, you got to have your buddies back, they got to have your back, but you got to work on yourself every single day. You know, boot camp sucks. SEAL training sucks. All these things suck, and people are so happy to get out of it, but that's what makes you good. I was, like I said, 297. I was about 32% body fat, and my idea was to run 4 miles for my first run. I ran a quarter mile and walked home. I walked home and sat on my couch and cried. I sat down and I gave up.
You start out on the first day, and then do you start running again the second day?
Yeah, the second day I went right back after it again, but I started realizing I can't run that far.
Right.
So what I did was I became damn near a professional cyclist with the miles I put on the bike. I go to the gym, and I developed this crazy workout where I was doing volume, like 200-300 reps. And I spent hours in the pool, hours in the pool. I had to live in the water. The bike got easier. I was able to run more. I went from like 1 mile. 1 mile was a great accomplishment. 2 miles, and then from 2 to 3 was a big one. Then I went from 3 to 6. I failed. I'll go back to scratch. But I started realizing this is part of the process. This is part of the journey. I'm just not good enough. I'm gonna make myself good enough. When we have bad times in life, even the hardest person in the world, we forget how badass we are during that hard time. I have a thing where I take a couple seconds to reflect on, hang on, man, you've been through this, you've been through that, you overcame this, overcame that. I don't ever close my mind to the fact that this can be done. I've quit several things. I know what's on the back end and quitting life. I lost the weight and I went back to recruiter. I got into that class. I went through 3 Navy SEAL Hell Weeks in 1 year. Only guy to ever be in 3 Hell Weeks in 1 year, to my knowledge. The first one I didn't make it through, the next 2 I did. And I started opening different doors that I didn't think were even there, that I didn't think even existed. And the more doors I opened up, the more I started realizing that my potential is damn near endless. I wanted to feel something besides defeat. I wanted to just go the distance. And that going the distance pushed me to a point of where now I go way past. I had no trainer. I didn't have a nutritionist. It was the self-discipline that I had to survive, to not survive, I was weak, to thrive. No one said, hey man, you're 297 pounds, man. I want to help you out. I had to overcome, and self-discipline is everything. And if you don't have it, I don't look at you right, because I know you're capable of more. It's not discipline so much for me. It's all on you. It's all on you. The self part is what's big. We count on people too much to get us through shit. And we look to our right, we look to our left, we're looking for help. And if you can build that self, you can build that total accountability in oneself. We live in a society where mediocrity is often rewarded. We often forget how hard we are, but you gotta reflect back. Take a couple seconds, reflect. I've been through this, I've been through that. If you don't believe it, to overcome to come from this kid who was mentally torturing himself and was tortured, it's all to this kid, to this guy now, who was able to overcome such amazing odds and obstacles. And I called Chris Cosmo, the race director of Badwater, and he said, the idea of a 24-hour race is to run 24 hours. You only ran 19. And he put doubt in my mind that he would let me into Badwater. 2 weeks later, roughly, December 5th, was this marathon that we all signed up for. I couldn't walk. I could not walk. I ran 100 miles before I ran a marathon. 10 days or 2 weeks after this 100-mile in one race I did, this marathon, December 5th in Las Vegas. That gun went off 2005. 14 days after, I broke myself off and I qualified for the Boston Marathon. I ran 3:08. And then I went to the Hurt 100, race in Hawaii, 26,000 feet of climbing over 100 miles. Probably one of the top 5 hardest 100-mile races in the world. Out there and got through the race. Did it in 33 hours, was the 9th place finisher, and I qualified for Badwater and got in. I went on to lose weight and train hard, and I got 5th my first year and went back my second year and got 3rd. I'm not the best at anything. I'm not gifted. I'm just driven. Out of the 100 men that go into war, 10 shouldn't be there. 80 of them are just targets. 9 do most of the fighting. 1 is a warrior. I saw it going through training. I saw it everywhere I went. There's so many people who just show up to life.
There's something about talking to a guy like you that a lot of people hope that you're going to say some magic thing that's going to click in their brain. What you're saying is that you have to do those things. You have to suffer, you have to live in it, you have to be comfortable in it, and then maybe a little bit along the way.
See me now as the guy that with his shirt off, who can do 4 pull-ups in 17 hours, who can run 205 miles in 39 hours, who can understand is they don't understand the journey that it took me to get to this point. And what got me to this point was I was just the opposite of what I am today. I was that guy who ran away from absolutely everything that I got in front of me. I wanted to quit so badly, but I quit everything in my life. I copied through school. I wanted to prove people wrong. And so here I am in this Air Force program, starting to get a little more confidence, but this water was kicking my ass. And 6 weeks into the program, the doctor gave me a blood test and realized I have sickle cell. So they put me out of training for a week. And when you go from being very uncomfortable in that water situation, and then now you're comfortable, and I'm sitting back watching the guys drown. I'm not part of the activities anymore for this week. I didn't want to get back in that damn water again. So the fear overcame me, and all my insecurities from my dad, from this small town, from everything started coming back. Me not wanting to go back in that water, the doctor called me back up. I thought I was going to get like a medical kick out of the military. So no quitting for me. They'll kick me out so I can have some pride. The doctor said, no, man, we could put you back in the training. And the sergeant said, hey, you got to start from day 1 because you missed, that week of training. And I broke. I couldn't imagine going back through that again. And I pretty much quit. Even though they gave me a medical, I quit. So from the age of 19 to the age of 22, I went and did a job called TAC-P, where you control fast movers behind enemy lines. Cool job, but there's no water. I was afraid of the water, so I avoided it. And I gained 125 pounds in that time frame. I went from 175 to almost 300, to 297 was my heaviest. And I started finding things that was comfortable. And the more things I found comfortable, the more uncomfortable my mind was. Because that voice I was telling you about, it always was there. I was just trying to avoid that conscience. I wanted to be left alone from that conscience, and it wouldn't leave me alone. So I got out of the Air Force, and I started working for a job called Ecolab, where you spray for cockroaches at 24. And spraying at different Steak and Shakes, Red Lobster, whatever, from 11 o'clock at night to 7 o'clock in the morning. And what changed, I came home and watched this Discovery Channel show, Class 224. I came home from Steak and Shake. I sprayed it down last, get a big old large 42-ounce shake, walk across the street and get a box of mini donuts from 7-Eleven. And I would drive home for 45 minutes. This big old fat guy. I was watching these guys going through Hell Week, Class 224. And these guys are ringing the bell, quitting, dropping their helmet down, rolling out. A lot of guys just leaving. And it made me reflect on my fears, my insecurities. And I saw real men, what I thought were real men who were staying, who were overcoming adversity, who were overcoming all these different things that I had people in my life, my dad, my mom for not being there. Everybody was to blame. My learning disability, my skin color, you know, me being everything. And so I sat there for a while and I was like, I've got it. So I had to man up. I'm exactly what people said I was going to be. And that's what created the person who's in front of you today. I had two options: to either be that 300-pound guy who sprayed for cockroaches and made $1,000 a month, and at 24 years old, knowing, reflect on this and think about what guy I never became, or I can totally just sack it up and fail and fail and fail until I succeed. We all want to read about how we can quickly get somewhere. That's why the 6-minute ab is so powerful. You may get some results from it, but they're not permanent. The permanent result comes from you. I say it all the time. You have to suffer. You have to make that a tattoo on your brain so when that hard time comes again, you don't forget it. I'm not the best at anything. I'm not gifted. I'm just driven.